The unemployment rate was unchanged in November, and it remains at its lowest level since 2000. Overall job growth was solid as temporary help services continue to gain market share of the overall employment market. Hello, this is Bruce Steinberg of SteinbergEmploymentResearch.com reviewing November 2017 U.S. employment trends and developments. The Current Population Survey, or CPS, becoming known as the Household Survey, reports the unemployment rate was unchanged at 4.1% in November, the lowest level it has been since 2000. The size of the civilian labor force increased by 148,000, and there were 57,000 more employed persons, but also 90,000 more unemployed persons, and there were 35,000 more people considered as not in the labor force in November. These were all relatively small movements of these components that are used to calculate the unemployment rate. So, despite the number of unemployed persons increasing by a greater number than the increase in the number of employed persons, the movement was not enough to move the needle in this case being the unemployment rate. November non-farm jobs increased 228,000, which was not as strong as October's growth of 244,000, but much better than a year ago in November 2016 when job growth was 164,000. The private goods producing sector was up 62,000 in November, and that was clearly an improvement from October's growth of 34,000. A year ago, in November 2016, it was up 35,000. Manufacturing added 31,000 jobs in November after increasing by 23,000 in October. A year ago, manufacturing was flat. The construction sector grew by 24,000 in November that built on a 10,000 job increase in October. A year ago, it was up 28,000. And mining and logging was up 7,000 in November after adding only 1,000 jobs in October. A year ago, in November 2016, it was also up 7,000. The private service providing sector increased 159,000 jobs in November, which was clearly not as strong as October's growth of 213,000. A year ago, in November 2016, it was up 143,000. The retail trade sector was up almost 19,000 in November. That followed a decrease of more than 2,000 in October. A year ago, it was down almost 13,000. Perhaps all the job eliminations in retail over the past year were just too steep to cope with the holiday selling season coming up. The professional and business services sector experienced growth of 46,000 in November compared to an increase of 54,000 in October. A year ago, it was also up 46,000. Computer systems design and related services increased almost 4,000 in November, and that computes as weaker than the increase of more than 5,000 in October. The education and health services sector added 54,000 jobs in November, with its health care and social assistance component increasing by almost 41,000. Home health care services was up almost 7,000 in November, which was a slight improvement from the 6,500 jobs it added in October. The leisure and hospitality sector was up 14,000 in November after adding an outlier of more than 100,000 jobs in October that was likely a bounce after the hurricanes in September when it was down 75,000 jobs. A year ago, it was up 44,000 jobs. The total number of government jobs was up 7,000 in November. The federal government was down 3,000, state government was up 1,000, and local government was up 9,000 jobs. After relatively weak growth for several months, November was strong for temporary help services with an increase of 18,300 jobs to 3,095,300 temporary help services jobs, and that was the biggest sequential increase, both numerically as well as percentage-wise, since November 2016. Sequential growth in November 2017 was 0.6%, with year-over-year growth of 3.9%. Temporary help services market share, that is its portion of all jobs, continued to advance in November and now stands at 2.1022% compared to October's 2.093%. A year ago, in November 2016, it was 2.0521%. The employment picture for November looked very good, but if anecdotal reports from throughout most of the country and sectors give a truer picture as seen in the last Fed's Beige Book for the year recently released, job growth would have been higher if employers and businesses were able to hire more, since there is a growing perception, and that could very well be reality, there are simply not enough qualified workers available. Therefore, the question remains, is the persistently low unemployment rate hindering further employment and therefore economic growth? This has been Bruce Steinberg, and this is just a brief sample of the employment data and analysis we provide.